Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name is Galaxy and today we are gonna learn about the function. Let's get started. Let's open Android Studio, and today episode is gonna be 7. Let's create the package episode 7. Now I'm just gonna copy the previous example and paste it over here and give the name function example and press OK. Now let's get started. So why do we need function?
Typically in the real world scenario, you have a project, right? And then you write the code. This code base will increase over time when you have certain requirement for your project, and you will write from 1 to thousands lines of code typically, and maybe millions of lines of code when your application grows. And it will be hard to manage when you write the code on the single page. When the changes comes, it will very hard to handle. So that's where the function comes in. The function is the logical separation of your code. Inside this function you separate out your logic, and also it will increase the readability and the code reusability, because when you write your logic in the separate function, then anybody could understand, and in turns it will increase the code reusability and also readability. So that's why we use function.
Alright, let's get started. In Kotlin, they have given you the keyword fun, which we have been using for many times. So to create the function, the keyword is fun. We have been using for many times throughout this course. So it's followed by the function name. The function name is whatever you like. I'll just type greetings, then open the bracket, close the bracket, and start with curly bracket. Then I'm just gonna log test my first greetings. So name it like this. So how do we call this function? Just call it like greetings. So this function is the default function in the programming world. When they say function or method, it's the same thing. Don't get confused, okay? They might say method or function, it's the same thing. In Kotlin they call it function. So you write the piece of your logic inside this statement, inside this function you have created, okay? And this function is the simple function or default function type with no parameter. I'll talk about the parameter. Let's create a function with the parameter. Function with parameter, then you just type the keyword fun and the function name greetings with parameter. Then I'll pass the name, which is gonna be the name of the person, name, and colon string, because I'm gonna be accept the data type of type string. And then I'm gonna put the age is going to be integer, and this is the definition of our function, which accept the name as the parameter and age as the parameter, and its data type is going to be string, and for age integer. Alright, then I'm just gonna log it out, log.I test comma, then $sign greetings, no, $sign curly bracket name space $sign age. Alright, to call this function, just type the function name with the parameter, and here the function parameter with the IDE support, it is telling you pass name and age. Alright, so when we pass this name and age, it's going to be called argument. It's the actual value to be passed in this function. When they say parameter, parameter is nothing but the storage or the placeholder for your actual value. Alright, so when you call the function, you will keep the argument, you will pass the value. So I'm gonna pass the value of the name Galaxy, since it is the string type, and I'll just put the comma, and age is going to be maybe 10. Alright, so let's run it, let's see the result. Let's go over to the logcat, and you'll find my first greetings Galaxy 10 from this default function and also with the parameterized function. Alright, Now let's create the function with the return type. So this function with return type typically will process some logic inside your function and then will return data type. It could be integer, string, or maybe the object. Alright, so I'm just gonna create the function with return type, fun greetings with return type. Then I'm just gonna create the default function and just keep the colon, and I want to return the string. Alright, and I want to do some manipulation or provide some logic over here. Maybe you could do that, and I'll just put the return or use the return keyword to return the data of the string type. So the data is gonna be Galaxy returns. Alright, so as this function return the string, we need to store this variable, right? Because if we type it like greetings with return type, then when I run it, the log has not printed for Galaxy returns because there is no way to print it out, because as we are missing log.I as well, and print out this function as it has return type of string. Because it has returned your string, you can store it. You can say it like store equal to, and you can give any variable name. It's just the name I have given over here. You can prefer to give another name as well. So when you return something from your function, you store. Okay, you can also return of many data type of your like, for example, integer or some object or boolean, etc. For in this context, I am just using the string, and it will store in this variable in the memory. Alright, so when I print it store, then it is going to print this Galaxy return as well. As you can see over here, Galaxy returns. So this is the basic example of the function with return type. So as well as you can do the combination with the function, you can create a function with parameter, and then you can return okay the type. So let's create it a kind of function. Suppose fun greetings with parameter and return type. So the parameter name is gonna be name string. Then I'm just gonna put one parameter and to return. This time I'm gonna return the string as well. So curly bracket, and I'll put the return, and since this is a string, I'll put in the double quote and followed by dollar and curly bracket, and I'll put the name parameter with return type again with the name. Alright, so this is gonna return the string as well. I'm just gonna call over here, and I'll put the name Adam, and since this parameterized function has the return type, we need to store its return value or return data. So store to equal to, and then I'm gonna just log it out. Okay, store to. So when I print it, it will print this out as well. Let's wait for the log. So as you can see, parameter with return type Adam or Adam. So this is how you are using function in Kotlin. Alright, let's move ahead. Let's talk about the default value for the parameter. So let's create a function. Again, greetings with default value. Then I'm just gonna parameterize the name and string. So I'm gonna log it out, log.I with test and comma $name, and I'm just gonna put default parameterized function with the name, and I'm just gonna call it over here since it has no return type. So greetings with default value, and I'm just put the argument over here, and I'll call it. So before I call it, I want to have a default value since the function name has greetings with default value. So we want to put the default value, alright, in the parameter. So it's gonna be a test. Just keep the equal sign, and this is the string of type. So just put double quoted the default value you want in the parameter. All right, so if this is gonna be age, then you can write it like equal to, and 12, this is gonna be the default value. So you can pass the name however you like an age maybe 15. So when I run it, you will see. All right, I have forgotten to put the age, $is. Okay, when I run it, you can see the default parameters function is calling with name galaxy and 15. All right, so if I want to call this function without this argument pass, without this value passed, then let us see with that what will happen. Greetings with default value. Then Kotlin compiler has no complaint since we have defined the name and its default value. If we haven't declared any default value, it's gonna complain over here. For example, like if I type the same greetings with parameter type and return type, then the compiler or this IDE is going to yell that you have to pass the name. Okay, so when you put the default value in your function parameter, then it is going to use this test and 12. And also you can do the combination like greetings with default value, and you can pass in the age 15, and you can leave this name as it is. So let's run it. The first one galaxy 15, and with the default we have not given any argument or passed the value, so it's gonna print test and 12. And when we just use age without any name to pass, then it will use the default test and the passed value 15. So this is the default value for the parameter. All right, let's move ahead. So now we are gonna talk about the name argument in Kotlin. So what's it's all about, let us see. So I'm just gonna use this example. Sometime in your project, when you create a function, it becomes very large with different parameters. Sometimes it may goes like 50 parameters or 60, 70. It depends on the nature of the project, and you have to call the function with parameter just like one by one, and it will be very tedious. So when you want to randomly choose pass the argument, you can type it like maybe age equal to 15. Now you are typing age equal to 15, and then comma name equal to galaxy random. So now you can see, you can manipulate your argument with the name. That's why it's called name argument. If you look into this greeting with default function, then it has the first parameter name and the second parameter is age. But with the help of name argument that the Kotlin support, you can write it like this: age equal to 15, which is of second parameter, and name. You can see, you get the notion, right? So whenever your function parameter grows, then you can write it in this way. Also here, let's go with this one, greetings with parameter. It has the same thing, so it has no default value. We are just gonna compare this with this one. All right, then here, as we have not passed sometimes the developer might make mistake when there are lots of parameter. In the first parameter, this function accept is the string type. So when there is lots of parameter, the developer might get confused. He might type like 26, so the compiler will tell that it's not okay. And so you can prefer it like this, or you can prefer it like without the name argument. Okay, with this name argument you can interchange the parameter, the argument. So I'm repeating lots of time the argument and this parameter. The parameter is to store, it acts as a placeholder. This is parameter, and when you pass some actual value, okay, no matter wherever you call it, when you pass the actual value, then it becomes argument. Many cases you would like to have this declaration in your argument, so you can be sure on which parameter you are passing your argument. Alright, okay, let's move on. In Kotlin there is another function called single expression function. So let me show you the example. For example, I can make the add function over here, and the parameter a int b int, and this is going to return the integer type. Then I'm gonna return a plus b. Alright, so when we write this regular parameterized function with the return type int, a equal to 10, then b equal to 10, and you store the sum equal to, and then you print it. Alright, log.I. when you run it, you'll see sum is 20 because I have passed the argument 10 and 10, and it accept this parameter and it will calculate over here, and it will return the integer type, and it will gonna store this in sum variable, and we are printing it over here. So let's talk about the single expression, why we use that. Sometimes you need the shorthand of this same function, for example like fun shorthand add. So I'm just gonna give it like the return type is gonna be int, we know, and we just put the equal sign and a plus b. I need to parameterize because it accepts a as integer, right, and b as integer. You can write it like this in a single line, so that's why it's called single expression function. Shorthanded 20 comma 30. When we print out, I need to give the variable well sum2 equal to, then I'm gonna change this sum2, then I'm gonna run it. Now it's printed sum2 is 50, because sometimes you don't want to write like a full expression with the curly bracket and the return type, and you just can use the shorthanded function, which is called the single expression function. So this is how you can use the single expression function in Kotlin as well. In Kotlin there is another function called high order function, and this function takes the function as a parameter or return the function. Alright, so let me show you what I mean by that. I'm just gonna give you some simple example. I'm gonna create the function called greetings with callback, then I'm gonna pass the same name parameter, and I'm just gonna accept the parameter of the function. And to do that you need to define the variable. I'll call it callback, then colon, and you just keep the bracket. Alright, so this bracket means function, and just keep the arrow and you type unit. If you make the simple callback function with no parameter, this represent the function with no parameter. As I'm passing the name over here, I will pass the name in this function. So name is of string type, right? So I will just call this function. I don't need the return type, so we don't have the return type. Alright, so I'll just pass the name, and this callback function act as the high order function, as it takes the function as a parameter, which is this, and return the function as well. How do we call this? Greetings with callback, and the name is gonna be Samantha, and you can use the lambda function like this curly bracket. This will accept, since we have a callback which has a name, and you can write it like name because it provides the name that we pass over here, right, as this callback function outputting the name. Now you can log in this way, high order function callback, and I'm just gonna put the name, and when I run it, let's see the magic, and the magic high order function callback Samantha. This is how the high order function is used. Alright, let's talk about another function in Kotlin, which is called extension function. So I'm just gonna give you the example. I'm just gonna make the function fun, and this is gonna be string because username, it's a string type, right? If you can also write this code like colon string. You can write the function it like this string, and then dot add emoji, right? Want to return string this, and I'm just gonna append it with some emoji like this, right? This is gonna be my extension function for the string class. So when I type it like username and dot add emoji, and when I want to print it, well, emoji, then I'll just log it out, test comma curly bracket emoji, then I'll just run it galaxy with the emoji. So you can just extend your function. Since we haven't displayed anything on the Android screen, using this function. So I'm just gonna display something on the screen using composable function. So I'm just gonna put the name action button. Here you can see it started with the uppercase. For the regular function, you just put with the smaller case, start with the smaller case. But for the composable function, which we are gonna display on the screen, just start with a capital letter. Alright, then I'm just gonna parameterize with string, and then I'm just gonna call it on click with the function parameter, then unit, annotate with @ and composable, and this function is ready to display on the screen. Now I'm gonna put the column, and I'm gonna put the button, and I'm just gonna use this on click when I click the button, and I'm just gonna redirect to our parent on click. I'm just gonna use the label like text equal to label. Now I'm just gonna use this action button composable function. So to call this composable to display on the screen, you need to write this code set content. You just call the composable function and you keep the label click me, and this will call this composable function. When this code run, it will display the column, and inside this column it has a button with the text click me, and when I click on this button, it will return this callback log it out me called. So you can write this high order function. This is the example of high order function. As you can see, it accepts the parameter as a function. So this is one of the use case in Android. So let's run it. So here it is, click me button over here, and when I click it, see the callback click me call. Alright, so this is how you write the high order function. So next time when you write the code on your project, don't forget to write the function to logically separate, so it will increase the readability of the code. So this is it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.